Right. Well, I'll start off with saying thank you for doing this because, the stab kit. Because North Walsham, a lady lost her son last year in Ipswich, and I believe it was a friend of hers that did a skydive the beginning of July this year to raise funds to get a stab kit for North Walsham, and I think surrounding areas as well, but I think North Walsham. And I would like you just to listen to a short. I probably should have got this ready, but never mind. Because why I've asked you is I believe a stab kit is there to save life, not to promote North Walsham as having stabbing victims, having what's the best way of putting it? Stabbing issues.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know,
but that's it. But it's everywhere, isn't it? It's not. I mean, there has been issues in North Walsham.
Yeah.
At least 3 to my knowledge where people have actually been stabbed, and there's other occasions where I know knives have been involved but nobody actually got hurt. But it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. And like we were saying earlier, it's not about...
And it's not necessarily gangs either, which a lot of people think is all to do with gangs. It isn't.
No.
It isn't.
No. It's not loading up now. Hang on. Come on, Wi-Fi. Come on. Well, while that is loading up, because I don't really want to re-edit my videos as well, because then there's no narrative from like the beginning to the end sort of thing.
Yeah.
So unless we start again.
All right.
Have I introduced you? I can't remember. You're Terry.
Yes.
And you're a neighbour, and you have your own story and own experience with the topic that we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
Would you like to lead the way with this topic?
Yes, in August 2005, we got a phone call to say that my son, who was in town, had been stabbed. Well, no, actually, they didn't say been stabbed. We didn't know what had happened, just that we needed to get as quick as we could into town. When we got into town, it was chaos. And it turned out he was just then being loaded into the ambulance.
Your son?
My son, Sam. The only reason he was still alive was because at the scene, when it happened, there was an off-duty paramedic there, and also in the area on call was a doctor who also worked with the flying ambulance, who got to the scene straight away. And they were with him. They went with him as well in the ambulance. I managed to get there. It turned out through his injuries. Oh, also his friend was stabbed as well in the leg with serious injury. If the paramedics hadn't been there, it caught one of his arteries, so he would have bled to death. So in that kind of case, one of these stab hags, definitely, because even if they weren't there, somebody would have known what to do. And it turned out through his injuries that he lost all his bowels, basically, which meant he could never eat or drink again. He was in hospital for 7 months, and they let him home for Christmas. They taught me, because he had to be fed intravenous, they taught me what to do so he could come home for Christmas. But we did so well, he was home for a year. But we always knew that he wasn't going to live, because the only treatment would have been he would have needed a complete liver and bowel transplant, which I don't even know whether they do them now, but they weren't doing them then. America just started doing them. And then he died after, it was 17 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to... Wow.
Well, we couldn't eat at home, couldn't cook, because obviously he was at home, and you can imagine if you couldn't eat, the smells.
Yeah.
So it affected all the family, obviously, because the girls were all younger then. They were all at home. all his friends. He was very popular, and and a lot of them were there and witnessed actually what happened. So that affected them. A lot of them had to go for counselling, and
because was your daughter? Am I right to believe your daughter was, there as well?
As well, yeah.
So she had the trauma.
She had to have counselling.
Seeing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And what was it over? What?
Over a girl. He knew the lad that stabbed him. Sam was 17 at the time. The lad was 21. He didn't meet up into our house. I didn't know him very well, but yeah, Sam knew him, and it was over a girl. Over a girl.
And it wasn't a knife that he had on him either, was it?
This happened outside the King's Arms. I mean, the lads hadn't been in the pub because they weren't old enough to go drinking. I think they'd been to that chicken place opposite the King's Arms or something
Chicken
there.
USA.
Yeah. And this argument broke out between the two of them, and the lad that stabbed him actually lived on King's Arms Street, and he just ran home, got a knife out the block,
and then
ran back and stabbed him. And his friend who tried to, stop him.
And he had it. So it was pure anger from an argument that he.
Yeah, pure. Yeah. It turned out he'd already been in trouble with the police involving a knife before, but the police had decided that it wasn't him, it was the other bloke, and I think the other bloke went to prison, but it turns out it wasn't, because the police even said with hindsight they would have looked at it differently. And it's the same in the other two cases of the stabbings in town. Each of the people that perpetrated it have been in trouble before with knives.
With knives.
Knives or violence.
How did you find the police then at the time?
I've got to say they were very good. They were. I've got to say they were. Yeah, and they kept us up to date. And obviously, the bloke was arrested there at the scene. He couldn't.
So he didn't even go. He stayed.
Oh well, no, they let him out. All the bloke, because everyone came out of the pub, you see.
Oh, I see.
And Sam's uncle was there as well, and they just grabbed him and made sure he didn't go anywhere. Yeah. And the police, obviously, he was arrested there and then, and he's still in prison now, 19 years later. And he was released, I believe it was 2 years ago. He was released on licence because he got life, but life is only 15 years. Because and a lot of people don't realise that. It's 15 years, unless the actual judge says it's longer.
Right.
Otherwise, it stands at 15 years, and you get a lesser sentence if you're 21 or under when you commit a crime.
Which he was.
He was. I think it was about 2 weeks before his 21st birthday.
Right.
They'd been thrown out the army, joined the army previously, and I think it was only in 6 weeks, and they threw him out. And this was about a month before this happened.
Right.
And like I said, he was released about 2 years ago on licence, and he wasn't even out 8 months. As we recall, we don't know. They won't tell you why. They just keep us informed if he's in or out, or if he dies. Basically, that's all we want to know, really. Yeah. And he's back in, so he's now been in almost 19 years, and he's up for parole again just after Christmas, I think.
It's coming Christmas. Because am I right to believe that when he was first sentenced, because Sam
was still alive, he got 7 years. For both Sam and his friend, he got 7 years.
Not each, but just 7 years.
7 years. And then when Sam died, which was, it was 17 months after it happened, he died. The law had been changed previously, a couple of years before, that previously, if you had to die within a year of a day of something happening for someone to be taken back to court for murder. But this woman, whose son, I believe he was beaten up and got really bad head injuries and was kept alive, like they can on machines and things. And it was nearly 6 years before he died, and she managed to get the law changed. So now it's 6 years. If somebody dies within 6 years of somebody committing something on that person, they can then be taken back to court for murder. And obviously, because he'd pled guilty at the first trial, he couldn't really do anything different, could he?
And that was the first with Sam as well, wasn't it? That
this was the first in this county. First case in this county. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really big on the news and things at the time.
I wasn't living in North Walsham at the time.
But it was really big on the news. And,
I must admit, I did look online yesterday.
Yeah, because you should have been able to find a few articles.
I found an article from the Mirror.
Oh yeah, I did that. Yeah,
and I was going to look on YouTube to see if there was any like BBC coverage or anything. And I
Don't
thought,
think so.
well,
I think it was more the local news.
was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me show you this. See if this is loaded up yet. It's on the shorts. Yeah, this is it. Not much to see, but you can certainly hear if it loads up again. Or not. Technology, eh?
I'm not very good at technology at all.
I mean, did you hear about, while I was looking through yesterday, there was another incident in North Walsham about 3-4 weeks ago. Beginning of July, there was another one.
What's that?
There wasn't a stabbing, but the police came out because there was talk of somebody running around with a knife.
Oh, yes, I did hear about that. Was that
Yeah,
down Brick Hill Road way somewhere?
Do you know, I don't know, because
I
I did
remember
so much reading yesterday.
the girls, I remember the girls saying something about that.
Am I also right to believe is it Faye, your daughter? Did she go on to raise money for...
Sam, yeah, she did a parachute jump.
She did do a parachute.
Yeah, because she used to be the landlady of the Orchard Gardens.
Ah, okay.
And when she worked there, yeah, she did a parachute too.
So how much did she manage to raise?
Oh, I honestly couldn't tell because it went to the Norfolk and Norwich. Pretty sure that's where it went to. It was a few hundred, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. It was a while ago because we all went for the first one, got there, and the weather conditions weren't good enough for it to do it, so we had to come back and then go again another day.
Oh no! Was that the first time she'd done it?
Yeah. She was.
shouldn't have.
Yes, definitely was. Yeah.
There's no way you'd get me jumping out.
No, and I think it made it worse that she had to go back because she'd had to get all rigged up and everything, and but it was just too windy to do it.
So, down the line to where you are now, and looking back on that horrific moment in your life, how do you find each year gets easier, harder, angrier? I mean, you must still have times.
No, I don't have anger because that would eat you up. And it's like people say, oh, you must hate. I don't shed any emotion on him. I can't do that because that would just eat you up.
Yeah, and I suppose you've got justice as well because he actually went to prison.
And he's still there. And the way I look at it is, he was just before his 21st birthday, went to prison. He's maybe will come out on licence next year, but I mean that'll be nearly 20 years.
Yeah,
and that stretch, I think, from that age to being 40 or over 40, be 42 when he comes out. That's very formative years, I think, in your life.
I think so, wouldn't you?
And I think that's probably why he went back in, because he just couldn't cope. Because when you think of how much everything's changed just in 20 years.
Yeah.
So, no, I just hope he has a happy life, and but I just don't waste any emotion on him at all. I don't, and that's why I don't want updates from probation, because this is the offer you can. I mean, I could even have him. He could have wrote me a letter. I don't want a bloody letter from him. What's that going to do?
Yeah.
But no, I just try not to think about him. I think because when it happened, we had 17 months knowing what was going to happen, that you just have to prepare yourself for it, and there's nothing else you can do.
And for Sam,
to be perfectly honest, I don't know, this sounds really horrible, but we sometimes wish he'd have just died on the night, because there's no quality of life, really.
Did he ever reflect back on the things that he would have changed? Would he have?
Well, there was nothing really he could have changed.
Like the victim blame, do you know what I mean? Did he blame himself in any way, shape or form that wasn't needing to be? Do you know what I mean?
No, because I think it was just an argument. They just had a bit of a... There wasn't even any pushing and shoving or anything like that. There was no... They just had words, and he just went off and got a knife and came running around the corner and stabbed him. And there was must have been at least 10 people there at the time. It was all witnesses. I think there was even a camera, actually, because I'm sure they've got a camera outside the King's Arms.
Well, they do have CCTV cameras in town, and I know they have cleaned them and updated them recently as well. So But I just didn't know how
But no,
much for him in his last 17 months of how he coped with it.
Not very well, really. He couldn't get on a drink, could he? Because he was allowed sort of maybe a cup like that of liquid a day of his choice.
Right.
But it's not like he could even sit and have a drink instead of not able to eat. He couldn't do anything.
Because
and he was hooked up to a machine for he had to be a minimum of 12 hours a day, which he had to be in his bed.
Yeah.
And obviously he wouldn't let any of his friends come around. When his friends came around, because he was so supportive of his friends.
Yeah.
And he'd be around every day. But what I had to do, I had to remove all the medical equipment from his room, because he made his room like a bit of a bedsit type thing for him, got a new telly and everything like that. All the medical equipment all had to be taken out of the room and hid away while his friends came round, because he wouldn't want them to know, even though they sort of, well, they didn't really know what was going on, sort of the extent of his injuries.
Yeah.
We just did what we could. We just, anything he wanted, he got, basically, but nothing was going to make up for not having his health. Really.
Wow. And like we said earlier, it's the damage that internally a knife can do, isn't it?
The injuries that people live with after knife damage, they just don't. They just hear people. You read about people being stabbed, you never see the after effects.
You just think, well, it's just a hole. If someone's going to be stabbed, it's just a hole. But the organs and everything that.
And the knife that lad used was so long, it went right through him. Because teenage lads are like this, aren't they? Yeah. And
this was a
kitchen knife out of a block
that he went home, got,
picked up, and came back.
But the law hasn't been changed yet about the size of knives, has it? Was it a doctor you said?
There's a doctor. I can't remember his name. I remember seeing it online at the time. Who's been campaigning now for years and years to do with the knife crime, especially in Scotland, about the size of the blade on the knives. He says that no one in a domestic setting needs a blade more than, I can't remember how long he said, unless it's in a working kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's what he says would save a lot of lives if the blades were changed, that people couldn't buy that size of blade.
Well, the thing is, you can go into a shop, you can go into, like, I don't know,
Lidl's.
Yeah, and buy these knives. And in some places, you've got, they might have stickers on them and whatnot of, you've got to be over 18. But then for a 20-year-old, they could still get the knife, couldn't they? And Amazon, we ordered some foldable linen baskets.
Yeah.
And I had to give my date of birth at the door when they got delivered. And I thought, what on earth have I bought here? Because of the information they want to know that I was of legal age.
For a linen basket.
For a linen basket.
And yet you can buy a machete. You'd probably not have to give nothing.
Probably not.
No.
I mean, that was a couple of years ago when somebody was running around Memorial Park with one of them.
Yeah.
And the chap over near Sainsbury's, that was over £10 cannabis bill, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Everyone. I think a lot of people tend to think it's just big cities that it's happening in, and it's all to do with gangs, and it isn't.
So annoying.
I have seen the campaign for it around the country.
So there must be other people doing that then. It must be a bit of a collective thing.
It was. I saw it a few months ago on the national telly. It was a woman whose son had died. I can't remember where. It was one of the big cities, and she started the campaign for these packs, these stab packs, to be put round. Same as a defibrillator, really. So that they're there in case of an emergency. So it would have all the essentials in the pack to at least to deal with it until the emergency services got there.
Because I don't actually know what is in a stab kit. I don't know what sort of.
I would have thought some kind of big pad to obviously put pressure over the wound. Gloves probably to put on before you touch it. I don't think there's a lot in it. It's just the basics. What they're saying.
So it's like a first aid kit.
Yeah. basically, because it's a case of stemming the flow of blood till the paramedics can get there and deal with it, because otherwise somebody will bleed out, even from a small wound if it's in the wrong place, or the neck, or you know,
like on the arteries.
Yes.
I'm so sorry I can't get this to
I'll have a look when I
work.
get home.
Oh, hang on. This is looking promising.
Have you heard of a stab unit? Yes, I have. Will North Walsham be getting one? Because there was a lady, wasn't there, that did a skydive. Yes, she has been in contact. I've got to take that to council because for them to approve. Yeah, they'll decide. Jesus Christ, really? Yeah, because they cost. Well, because that's something that they just have to decide. Because there are the fors and against. So if you have a... But she's raised money to get one. Yeah. But does that promote that North Walsham has a problem with stabbing? Even if it does, it's there to save a life. Yes. And I mean, you know, we've had a stabbing here. We've had... Well, we have, haven't we? What was it, 2 years ago? 3 years? Have you heard...
That was the short.
Well, that's like saying... if you've got a defibrillator, you're promoting people to have a heart attack, aren't you? That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Totally stupid, especially if it's been provided free.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost the council? I think because there'll be them packs available that what people are going to go out and stab people because there's a kit there. It's just, like I say, I just don't see the difference in having one of them and having a defibrillator. I really don't, because it's there to save a life. And if it only saves one life in 10 years, it's saved a life, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And especially sort of where we are, how long it can take for an ambulance to get there sometimes, you know.
That is very true. So, what would you say to the councillors right now? If they were standing in front of you right now and had to make that decision, is there anything you'd say to them to make them think before they...
Walk a day in my shoes and then say that you wouldn't have them packs there? That's what I'd say, because I'm sure if that happened to one of their sons, they wouldn't be thinking twice. And that could be anybody's son,
or daughter,
or
mother, or father,
whatever,
cousins, anybody.
Yeah. And I think it's just ridiculous, especially if it's something that they're not even going to have to pay for or anything, you know. The only thing they're probably going to have to is maybe a bit of advertising to say that it's available. I don't know what they're frightened of. It's just stupid, because at the end of the day, stabbings have happened.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they might be in total agreement and that will pass smoothly.
Yeah,
but it's just that moment of
what is there to consider?
Yeah,
you know, you should just automatically bring it on. Great, you know, more resources available, the better, isn't it?
Well, absolutely.
You know, for anything medical, definitely.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's like that Norfolk. What they called, Norfolk Rescue. I'm not doing them any justice right now because I can't bloody remember what they're called. I mean, they all work on charity.
Like the ambulance thing. Rescue thing.
No, they were in town on the.
I can't think because I donate
on the Children's Fun Day in North Walsham.
Right.
They were out there with all their stuff.
Yes, it's just donations, isn't it?
Yeah, and showing people how to resuscitate and all that. And it's like, you know, they are doctors, paramedics, you name it, and they dedicate their time for free to, you know, go out to because it being rural.
Yeah.
That they can get there kind of first, and they've got all the stuff, and I was quite impressed with that. And then when I learned that they did it all for nothing, and an MP gets £46 an hour, that's where I was like, well, things are really messed up at the moment, aren't they?
Very, very.
Because it's like they are the people that are worth every single penny to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And their dedication, but I can't think what else to.
No. I think we sort of covered everything, didn't we?
I think so. I think so. Even though that little break in the middle
with
the trellis, probably get it back and it'd be like, can't hear you. But thank you.
No, that's all right.
For doing this, and I will be recording it on Tuesday. I will go into town council with my camera anyway to get the whole meeting and Yeah.
See what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.